What is up, you guys? So today I have this ESP LTD EC1000. Came in for a basic setup. 10 to 52s were on it. It was in drop C. Part of the reason it needed a setup was the owner was telling me how he was having issues with it and sounding out of intonation when he was recording. So I looked over the instrument. Relief and action looked fine. And then when I do the quick ear test for intonation, nothing came out ringing really bad to me. Like everything seemed like it was where it should be. So then I started looking at the frets. And in this whole area, the first to about the 9th fret, he had a lot of fret wear into the frets. Not only did he have some divots and some wear points, but the frets all up and down the neck were kind of flat. Now, at the nut and at the saddle, they are your nodal points. They are what create your scale length, right? So when the string comes up into your saddle, it ends at the face of the saddle, comes into the nut, and ends at the face of the nut. And it is a very defined line of where that note starts and ends. The frets are supposed to be the same. The frets are supposed to be what we call crowned, which is like a peak on a mountain, right? So it comes up, and then has a fine line, and it goes back down. These kind of came up, plateaued, and went back down. And the problem with that is if you have an actual nodal point, when you press down on the fret, it has one place for it to ring out on because it comes up and comes back down, and there's that middle line in the center of the fret. Because it was really flat and had a plateau to it, sometimes it was being fretted on this side of the fret. Sometimes it was on this side. And what I mean by that is like when you hold down the fret, obviously you're not changing frets to fret the same fret, right? But if it's plateaued, because it's so wide and flat, sometimes you're landing on this side of the flat or the part of the plateau. Other times you're on this side. And even though it's not a big difference, because the fret is really flat and you're hitting on either side of it, that can cause severe intonation issues when you're playing up and down the fingerboard. So I removed the strings, I flattened out the neck, got it to 0 relief, and then I leveled the frets out. I re-crowned the frets, did some fret end work, made everything nice and how it should be, rounded over, and feels good in the hand for the fret ends. And then I brought them to a high polish and a high shine, cleaned the fingerboard, oiled, conditioned it, cleaned up the instrument, cleaned up the saddles. There's a lot of junk and finger cheese in here over the years, so I cleaned all that out. I opened up the saddle slots, my nut files. I regulated the nut. I adjusted pickup height, and then I did intonation. This guitar had a full overhaul and full reset up. Feels like a whole new guitar. It is now an 11 to 54. It is in drop C, and it is a metalcore machine. It's actually a really, really nice piece. Very resonant, sounds great. So I'm going to show you the work that was done now, but wanted to explain what I did, why I did it, and maybe this will give you a little bit of insight on why maybe your guitars sound a little out when you're playing up and down the frets. Thank you. Check it out.